Since this is a federal aid project, prevailing hourly wage rates are in effect. And what that really means is that contractors have to pay at least a minimum wage to their different labor classes. And those wages are based upon the prevailing or general wage paid to groups. The whole idea is that, especially with the federal aid projects, you are to make sure that people can make a reasonable living. You want to keep contractors from lowballing you. In other words, saying they're going to pay people $5 an hour in order to get a project, and when for the minimum, and you would have to pay someone $10 or $12 or even $15 an hour for that kind of work. So prevailing wages are an attempt to try to keep the playing field level for everybody, to make sure people get a reasonable wage for the kind of work they do. So prevailing wages vary depending on the skill and the class of labor that you have. In this project, then you'll see sections that specify what the hourly wage rates are going to be for the project. And our project inspector is going to come out and they're going to check that. They're going to interview your workers. They're going to ask them how much they get paid. They're going to want to look at their pay stubs, and then you have to provide us every couple weeks, when you make payments to your employees, a schedule, a report that shows us what you paid to each of your workers. And that is one of the main items that gets audited when the state and the federal auditors come down and check our files. And if we don't make sure you pay your employees what you should, we get penalized. So the city and the county and the state all spend a lot of time making sure that we aren't going to get penalized. And what that means is we'll have to get back to federal aid and pay for the work ourselves, and or sue you to make sure that we get the money that the feds had promised us. So wage orders come down and they are dated. You'll see them included in contract proposals. They'll tell you, for example, where they're good for. This one is good for Missouri, and the dates that they're good for, the publication date. And then you'll start seeing for different areas throughout the state, and whether you work in Missouri or Michigan or Virginia or wherever, you'll see these same types of wage reports that you will have to make sure you pay. When you're going through and doing your estimates now, the means program provides a similar number based upon average of work that's been done throughout a region. It doesn't always reflect necessarily the prevailing wage, and the wage order is the actual amount minimum that you have to pay. So means it's a good start, but if you're going to be really accurate, you're going to get the wage order and you're going to substitute those values into the means program so that you get the exact. Now this is only minimums. You can pay folks more, and that's really up to your business. But you'll see as you go down through the wage rate, for example, here you'll see for St. Louis County and City, so over on the east side of the state, that carpenters, we expect carpenters there to be paid $32.78 an hour, and then have another $12.25 an hour of fringe benefits. That, again, we're going to check both those numbers from you and make you verify and swear that you pay your people. As you go down through the wage rate, you'll see here in this case for carpenters, and we have carpenters on our job here, so this should be of interest to you, other rates. You'll go down next and you'll see this next section uh, in Cass County, down at the Richards Gebaur Air Force Base area, Clay County, Jackson County, Platte and Ray counties, and these counties right here are the counties in the Kansas City area. In fact, this project in Grandview are in Jackson County. So this is the applicable rate for carpenters. And so you'll see for carpenters in Jackson County, you have to pay a minimum of $33 an hour and $12.03 of fringes. For carpenters and lathers, again, another group within the carpenters area, millwrights and pile drivers, you're going to pay again the same amount for those classifications. So if you got carpenters on our job, they have to be paid $33 an hour plus $12.03 fringes, and you have to verify that. You'll go down through the wage rates. You'll see another section here of carpenters and pile driver workers for other counties in Missouri. You'll see all the different counties should be listed and the different rates, and you can see how the rates change as you go out and say to the more rural area where things labor tends to be generally a little less expensive. So you'll go down through this wage rate, find Jackson County for all the different types of work. So here, electricians, and you'll see they start back up a bit for electricians, and right in here, and you'll start seeing the wage rates for electricians. And what you're going to do is go down through this electrical section. We have electricians on our job, and you're going to be looking for the costs and the wage rates that you're going to pay for folks in Jackson County, and that will cover you for our projects. And here you go right down here. Here's the wage rate now for Jackson County. You'll see it right here. And electricians, minimum wage is going to be $33.83, and they're going to have a fringe of $18.63. So for each of the labor classifications on a job, you're going to go through this particular document, and you're going to find what the minimum wage is going to be for each of those groups. And once you have that, you're able to substitute them into the means program to get your estimate is going to be appropriate for the area. Here's another set of equipment operators, Cass, Clegg, and Jackson County, our county, and you're going to be looking for different types of equipment operators, and you'll see that there's different groups. You go down and you'll find the definition of the group. Group 1, asphalt roller operator, and asphalt paver and spreader. Different types of equipment for someone who runs the asphalt paver. Group 1, they're going to be paid a minimum of $33.13 an hour, and they're going to have a fringe of $14.33 an hour. And then you can go down and you can see what Group 2 is and what kind of equipment that involves. People who are going to run the concrete saw, the self-propelled ones, and those are the things that are going to cut expansion joints in concrete, for example. They're going to be Group 2. Group 3 is oilers. We don't have too many oilers around anymore. Group 4, oiler drivers. So again, you're going to go through and find out exactly what applies. Here's another set of counties, and again, you can see by going through how the rates change, and also how sometimes the groups change. You'll have definitions for different groups. Again, it depends on how labor is organized, often how much unionization there is in an area, and that will specify which groups are in that area and change things from place to place. So this will provide you again with the minimum amount that you're going to pay your staff as you make your estimates of cost. In addition to knowing what those basic wage rates are, you're going to find, and included with the document is the annual wage order issued by the state. You're going to find specific for each area or county. Here, this is the order for Jackson County. And it gives you the date that it was filed, basically the effective date. You're going to find that for each of the different types of occupation titles, the job titles, classes we were talking about, again, kind of a summary of the kind of wage areas that we're talking about, but also something that's called overtime schedules, holiday schedules. And what these are is they specify what different classes of overtime mean and when holidays are. So for each of the, if you notice, there are numbers after each of these groups. For example, our cement mason is an overtime schedule 65 and a holiday schedule 4, as opposed to, see, the operating engineer. We looked at the group 1 operating engineer a second ago. Those were the asphalt paver operators. They have an overtime schedule of 85 and a holiday schedule again of 4. But what that really means is that how you determine overtime for these two different classes is different. One is described in paragraph 63. One is described in paragraph 85. They both have the same holiday schedule, and that's number 4, but you'll see that other types of workers have different types of holiday schedules. And what that ends up doing, if you go back, you'll see that it changes the fringe benefit when you consider how that's worked in. So if we go down, what you'll find is all the different schedules that describe the different types of, say, the overtime schedules and the holiday schedules. And it starts out, you see, for fed job, minimum requirement per Fair Labor Standards Act means time and a half shall be paid for all work in excess of 40 hours per work week. Okay, so as soon as somebody's worked 40 hours during a regular work week, 1 week work period, any hours over that, you have to pay time and a half for any other hours. And you know, a lot of people use games to try to get around this, but the fact is, once someone's done 40 hours, the 41st hour is time and a half, and that's the way it is. And there are enough people checking that you really don't want to get caught shorting somebody on overtime. Makes for bad morale, but also I'll be looking to make sure you don't. The state will be looking, the feds will be looking, everybody's looking to make sure you pay what's required. But if you go down, you'll see, remember we were talking about the different numbers of different classes, and you see each of these describes what a work week is, and in other words, starting what an 8-hour day includes. It describes things like how you count the hours, when the hours start and stop, what days of the week they count for. It tells you when overtime comes. And for example, if you look here, it says Labor Day. If you work on Labor Day, that's that first Monday in September, Labor Day shall be paid at triple time for any of those classifications that are number 2 for overtime. Okay. So for each of those different, if we go back up again and look at, for example, the cement finish, a cement mason, they used overtime schedule 65. So if we go down through this list of different schedules, and you see there are a whole bunch of different schedules, we'll go down to 65, and we can see what overtime means for our cement masons. And again, you've got copies of these you can look at, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time working away. You see 65 right here, and what that means is Monday through Saturday shall constitute a work week. Okay, Monday through Sunday, so it starts on Monday, ends on Sunday. A new work week starts then at midnight. It tells you regular starting time at 8 o'clock, half-hour lunch, and between 3.5 and 5 hours after starting time. Okay, and you can advance the starting time by 2 hours or delay it by an hour from the regular. So you've got some variations. You could start it at 6 or go all the way to 9. All work performed before the advanced starting time and during the half-hour lunch shall be paid at the overtime rate, time and a half. And work performed outside these hours shall be paid at time and a half. It tells you that you're going to pay double time on Sundays and recognized holidays. It gives you all the requirements, and it tells you what happens during inclement weather, how you make up that time, all the rules of how you establish a work week. It says down at the bottom, if you look here in this last sentence, the employer may establish a 4-10 schedule, 4 days, 10-hour days at straight time, which is your regular rate. And you must schedule, if you're going to use 4-10s, you have to do at least for 1 week. And you can use, if it rains, they're assuming you do Monday through Thursday, and if you have a rain out, you can use Friday as a makeup day. Okay. So for each of the different classifications, you go through that table that we looked at originally, you're going to find which of these schedules applies, and that's for overtime. Now if you go further, you'll see holiday. And remember, we looked and we saw that for those masons, item number 4 applied. What's that say? It says all work done on New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas Day shall be paid at double time rate of pay. And if any of the holidays that are listed, we just talked about, fall on Sunday, Monday will be observed as the recognized holiday. Okay, and if somebody works on that Monday after Memorial Day or Christmas, then it's considered the holiday, and they get the holiday rate, which was described up above in item 65. So you'll have to go back and forth. But for those types of workers that have number 4, these are the holidays. And once you know the holiday schedule, then you know when you have holiday pay periods, or when you have different considerations as far as how much you pay people. So you'll go through for each of your folks, and this is one of the reasons you set up your holiday schedule, especially when we get to the Primavera, and we're looking at how to schedule the work. These are the paragraphs that will tell you which of the holidays that you have to work. And you can see, and once we get to Primavera, you'll notice that you can set up different holiday schedules for different classes of work. And the reason you have to have that particular function or feature in Primavera is because you can see different classes and classifications of work, different occupations have different holiday schedules. And so you have to be concerned how that changes. And again, the other thing that's in this wage report is changes tells you when they change, when they've changed, so you can keep. Again, you have to certify that you've paid everybody correctly every 2 weeks when we do a pay estimate, and so you have to go through and always make sure that you're in accordance with the wage law. Now, if the wage statement, wage order changes, once a job gets going, you don't have to worry about it. The wage rate that's advertised with the project, that's the legal wage rate or wage schedule when you start the project, is the one that applies for the job. So you don't have to worry about changing things in the middle if the wage rate changes.